That's creepy. But subscribe anyway. You are live with Get Connected. Mike Agerbo here with John Biehler and AJ Vickery. We've got a really cool show today. Later on, we will be talking about how much money YouTube makes. It's billions and it's amazing. It's the first time that Google's parent company Alphabet, who owns YouTube as well, has released those numbers broken out. But now that they have, I think, all the creators who actually get a cut of that, they want more.
Gimme.
We'll also be talking with Scott Kim from Neofect. This is a company that helps gamify rehabilitation. It's really, really cool. So stay tuned for that. And you probably heard this story this week. Some guy in Berlin fooled Google Maps into thinking there were traffic jams everywhere by pulling around a little red wagon full of smartphones. So we're going to talk about some of the details of that. Some guy. And well, he calls himself an artist. I call him a pain in the ass. But we'll talk about some of the details and did it really cause a traffic jam on Google Maps? Let's talk about some of the news right now, guys. This was kind of interesting. Airbnb has been in the news quite a bit over the past few months. Vice did a really great story about a lot of the scams that are happening with Airbnb. And I use Airbnb a lot. I do a lot of business travel to Toronto. So I don't even stay in hotels anymore. I do an Airbnb because it's cheaper and it's nicer for the money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like for $140 a night, I get a nice condo.
Yes.
You don't like spending $400 a night for Toronto?
No, I do not.
But you really do have to look at the reviews and stuff. Like you got to do a little bit you can't just like pick one.
Yeah. So the problem though is, AJ, I don't think everyone's always as honest as they could be with these reviews. Do you know what I mean?
Fair.
Well, yeah. And
are you?
My friends stay there.
Yeah, I'm honest with
Are
my
you?
reviews. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go there and it's dirty, like someone didn't vacuum,
Yeah.
I will say that it wasn't clean, but then the owners have the ability to respond to those concerns.
Yeah.
And you have a dialogue and it's like, well, it shows that they're transparent. So it's good.
Well, there's been quite a few scams. I've actually almost been a victim of one of these. I did an Airbnb one time, and the guy reached out to me and said, "Hey, I can do you a better deal if you book it offline with me, not through Airbnb." And I'm like, "No." That just sounds...
Is that how you get scammed?
Well, yeah, so that's one scam. Another big one is that you'll get there and they'll say that the place isn't available, but they have this other place.
Mm-hmm.
Bait and switch.
It's a bait and switch.
That's common, especially in Mexico. I went through that.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's not allowed on Airbnb either. And some at the last minute say that the property is unavailable to unavoidable circumstances, which means that they can avoid cancellation penalties.
Meanwhile, you're there with your luggage.
Exactly. And you're kind of screwed on that. So, Airbnb is obviously trying to root out a lot of these issues, but it's still a major problem. Vice, who broke the story, they've said they literally had thousands of people email different scams to them, which is pretty significant.
Yeah. There's just so many different ways to get separated from your money or your bookings. And I can only imagine how traumatic this would be if you had a family and you showed up somewhere versus just you and I showing up on a business trip. If you have a bunch of kids, you don't have a place to stay.
Yeah. And
especially if you're in a place that you don't know.
Yeah.
It's awful.
You know what I find interesting is that you often see when there's big disruptors like this that come out, and Airbnb is a massive disruptor.
Yes.
You often see sort of similar type services that come out, but maybe at a little bit of a premium. Do you know what I mean? Or a different experience and stuff like that. I haven't really noticed that in the case of Airbnb.
Well, there's VRBO.
Yes.
Yeah, I've used that almost as much as I've used Airbnb.
I've been hesitant to because, I read about it online and they didn't seem to have the same type of insurance that Airbnb had in case there were any issues. So there wasn't as much protection. I don't know if that's changed recently, but I felt safer with Airbnb because, they had the user ratings. Oh, the one thing on VRBO at the time, you could leave ratings for a property even if you didn't stay at it.
Right.
Which makes no sense whatsoever, right? Because obviously, that can be gamed and you can't do that on Airbnb. Like with Airbnb, if you stay in a place, only you can give a rating for that. And you even have a time limit on it
Yeah.
as well. You can't do it like a month later. I think it's only a few days
Mm.
on it, which I think helps protect the
Well, I think
integrity of the process.
while it's fresh in your mind too.
Yeah.
And they certainly keep letting you know that you have to give that feedback.
But it's interesting. Another time when I was traveling in Europe, I think with you last time,
Yeah.
I found this great place. I think it was in Belgium somewhere, Brussels or whatever. And it looked beautiful, but it was like $100 a night.
Right.
It looked like a $400 a night Airbnb. And I'm like, I clicked on it. Yes. And literally within hours, they got back to me saying, no, this was not a real listing.
Oh,
And those are really hard to weed out, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do to protect yourself from that. But we even encountered on that same trip, we encountered an Airbnb where the you have to really read the fine print
Yes.
because you found this great Airbnb, Grand Camp Macy, right on the water, nice beautiful view. This is just in France, right near Juno Beach.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you want towels?
oh yeah, towels are extra. Oh, you want linens for the bed? That's extra as well.
Yeah.
Fortunately, that was an out of date post, and there was some comments about that towels weren't included, and then they had since we got confirmation on that. But just little things like that, again, trying to get more money out of you unexpectedly. Partly maybe because the Airbnb host, doesn't fully understand how the system works. And
I
they're
found a
brand new.
lot of European listings were like that. I think it's probably gotten better, but as North Americans, I think we're used to Airbnbs being pretty well stocked with
like a hotel.
like toiletries
Mhm.
and towels and bed linens. When I was looking in Europe for Airbnbs, yeah, a lot of places they didn't have towels or bed linen was extra.
Yeah.
Which was you got to really read that because if you show up with your family and there's no bed linen as
Yeah.
well, yeah,
Well,
unhappy wife.
yes.
And I've stayed at Airbnbs where the host will actually stock the fridge with beer and food. I'm like, this is awesome. Then we were Then we were in Bruges, and then it's stocked with beer, but there's a price list on the door of the fridge.
Yeah.
You have to leave your money there, and it's an honor system,
yeah.
which is cool too.
I used to find like in the early days, yeah, they'd leave like nice water or
Yeah.
like
Some
6
fresh
pack
baked
of beer.
cookies.
I'm not seeing that anymore.
Mm.
I think it's all business now. Let's look at some of the other stories here on Get Connected that we're following. Alphabet. That is the parent company of Google. We'll be talking more about them in YouTube a little later on. They've unveiled a new tool called Jigsaw, and it's only available to journalists and media outlets right now. But it helps, or is supposed to help spot manipulated images and deep fakes. It's a challenge, right? Because you see all this imagery and even videos. And when we're talking about deep fakes, these are these new videos that are being edited to look like the person is saying something or doing something that they're not.
Mhm.
A famous one would be Barack Obama had a speech, and they basically manipulated it to look like he was saying something completely different, but it looked so real.
Especially during election cycles like we're in right now in the U.S. You can't believe anything you see.
What? No. So this is super interesting. It's a tool called Assembler, and it uses detectors to actually analyze images or videos to see if they're authentic. And if they're not, it'll tell the user that it's been manipulated.
So hopefully we'll see a reduction in fake news. I'm skeptical, but
Fact checking.
This is just for the images, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they can still write.
well, it's interesting
crap,
too
right?
because Adobe also recently announced something with Photoshop that can actually detect that an image has been manipulated because it can tell the changes in the pixels.
Mhm.
And so it's really good to see that these tools are going to be available so that we'll, in theory, have a higher quality of news and imagery.
It's going to be a big problem. I'm telling you that right now, especially with deep fakes and how easy it is to manipulate video. And people, when you watch video, you don't believe this imagery. Yeah, I can see maybe that, I can wrap my head around that. But
Yeah.
I would say most people wouldn't believe that video was faked if it looks real.
I could actually use that because I ran into a garage door the other day and there's a video of it. I need to deep fake that.
We've moved into a brand new building for our studio here. And AJ took out the garage door.
Well, apparently.
I thought it took out AJ.
Yeah. See the video.
I'm already listening to the deep fake.
So a lot of big sites are concerned about this as well. Facebook, Reddit, YouTube, they've all introduced new policies in the past few weeks that ban malicious deepfakes. I don't know why they just don't ban all of them. Are there good deepfakes?
Well, are you on TikTok?
Mike's head on a sexy model.
Well, yeah, that's good. And also this week, Twitter has announced some policies around manipulated media, saying that it'll ban any altered media that poses a safety risk and is deceptively shared. Is that enough?
It's a start.
Yeah, it's a start.
I just wonder how do you police that, though? Do you know what I mean? Like, look at Facebook. How many billions of posts and images are going up daily? And even on Twitter, like hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
Across all these different social platforms. You don't have enough humans.
Firehose doesn't describe.
No.
volume.
You have to rely on people reporting this stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just never ends.
But then, yeah, even the reporting side, though, people that don't agree with the message that's legitimately true will still report it as being fake. And so it just creates this backlog of verification that has to happen on everything.
Okay, we will have to take a break. I just want to give a shout out to our contest right now. We are giving out an amazing pair of headphones from Bear Dynamic. $1,000. You've tried them, John.
Yes.
And?
They're amazing.
Well, they better be for $1,000.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So if you want a chance to win these, it's really simple. You go to our website, getconnectedmedia.com, and you go to the newsletter tab. If you subscribe to our newsletter, you get entered to win. Not only this particular contest, but all the contests that we have going on this year. And we're giving away thousands of dollars of prizes. So it's so simple. Again, getconnectedmedia.com and the newsletter tab.
And fill out the form.
Yes.
Don't email us. You need to fill out the form, and you'll get a confirmation email saying, hey, you're done, you're good. That's how you know that you're entered.
Let's talk about Google Maps. We probably all have used this. Many of us use it on a daily basis. It powers a lot of other maps and driving apps, like Waze, for example. Well, an artist in Berlin, his name is Simon Weckert, this past week found a way to fool it.
This is brilliant.
I would never even thought of this. So what he did was somehow got together 99 smartphones.
We should step back, though. Let's explain how Google Maps works.
Okay.
So Google Maps, when you use it in your car, it actually shares anonymously your location, your speed, and those types of things back with the mothership. And then it helps to determine how busy your route's going to be.
Yes.
And so
based on everyone else's.
Right. And I use Google
information.
Maps even if I know how to get to my house.
Yes.
I still use it because it will reroute me around problem areas.
Exactly.
And this artist figured out an interesting way to
Spoof it.
Spoof it. Yes. So he got together 99 smartphones, borrowed them from friends, and rented a bunch. I don't know how you'd get that many phones.
This must
from
have
friends.
taken him hours, if not days, to set
coordinate.
up, activate, turn on, put SIM cards in, get them running Google Maps, and then he put them in a little red wagon.
So yeah, like a little red kid's wagon.
Yeah.
And he walked up and down Berlin streets, basically creating virtual traffic jams. So if you were using Google Maps, you would see a red line on that street basically saying, oh my God, this is super heavy congestion here. He even went over a bridge, went outside the Google headquarters in Berlin as well. Just kind of slap him in the face a little bit. And it worked.
Well, it's interesting because Google can't tell how many, clearly there wasn't 100 or 99 vehicles in the back of the little red wagon.
No.
And they were all, relatively in the same space. So you would think that maybe they would have some kind of algorithm to figure out that it's physically impossible for that many vehicles to be in that close quarters.
And why are these 99 people all going the same place?
Right.
Is it just a big bus?
So it's interesting. He found a few things. Okay. So it sounds like it's super easy to hack, but at the same time, it isn't. He found that he had to be continually moving.
Yeah.
So when he stopped, the traffic jam was over. It was regular again.
Really?
Also, he had to do it on empty streets. If a normal car drove by him during that time, it would untraffic jam it as well.
Presuming they had Google Maps running.
Yes. That is true.
Yeah.
Good call there on that one.
Yeah.
So it's not a foolproof hack, but it kind of shows you that these things can be manipulated.
Well, it was interesting too, because Google responded by saying they hadn't quite figured out how to track a little red wagon, but they have had some success in some areas discerning between a vehicle and a motorcycle, which is interesting. And maybe it's the amount of speed that a motorcycle is capable of versus a car, you know, like, again, there's lots
How
of
fast it moves in and out of traffic, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
So some people were a little upset about this, saying that this isn't good because if more people figure out how to do this, it could affect emergency vehicles, right? It could reroute them because it thinks that, oh my God, this street is busy and take longer.
This is literally a scene out of the movie Hackers.
Yes.
Where they hacked the system that ran all the stoplights in this case, but they rerouted all the police around where they were actually trying to complete the hack in the movie.
I just love the pictures of Simon and his red wagon walking down the Berlin streets. If you haven't seen it.
Yeah. Some of them he's blurred his face. I don't know why that is. So people don't find him and beat him for creating traffic jams everywhere. But again, Google Maps powers a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think it even powers my Tesla navigation system.
I think it does.
I think it does. So don't come over here, Simon. Okay. We have to take another break. We are going to talk about YouTube later on, about how much money they make. It's astronomical. Like they bought them, I think, for $1.5 billion back in the day. Well, it was a good investment. A lot of people thought that was a lot of money for Google to buy.
Well, that was one of the biggest purchases at the time.
Yes.
One of the early unicorns, as they call them.
We'll also be talking with the folks at Neofect. They have some really cool technologies that gamify rehabilitation, which I thought was amazing. Don't forget to also hit our website. We're giving away that pair of Bear Dynamics over-the-ear headphones. Check it out, getconnectedmedia.com. If you go to the newsletter tab, subscribe, you are entered to win. That's how you enter. Got to go to the newsletter, subscribe. Once you're entered for all the contests. We're literally giving you away thousands of dollars surprises over the next year. Talking with an interesting fellow from a company called Neofect. His name is Scott Kim, based out of San Francisco. He has got a fantastically interesting company. Fantastically, is that a word, John?
Yes, I think it is.
That gamifies rehabilitation. The company's called Neofect. Thanks for joining us today, Scott.
Thanks for having us.
Tell us a little bit about Neofect and what you guys are doing as far as using technology to help, rehabilitate people, even stroke victims.
Sure. So, Neofect is a high-tech healthcare, medical device company, mainly focusing on making hardware and software for stroke survivors rehabilitation. So usually we say stroke survivors, instead of victims, and just meaning that they have a lot, there's a lot more positive things that they can do. And our flagship device is called the Smart Glove, and it's basically it's basically the gamified rehabilitation solution, mainly for stroke patients. Stroke patients rehabilitation. So they play games wearing this wearable device called Smart Glove. And once you wear the glove, then it becomes your virtual controller. And then you play games, but at the same time, you're going through the clinically proven rehab process, mainly for the stroke recovery. So if anyone remembers the Power Glove, back in the 80s, and it kind of works like this. You wear that, and then all the motions that you're making with the glove on are recognized by the software. And then what you're doing is catching baseball, and then cooking, and then doing fishing, and even pouring the wine. But it's really meant to be working on your range of motion, so eventually you get better.
Well, I found it quite interesting. One of our folks here on the team, Stephen, had a chance to talk to you down at CES and did some videos with you. So you had people that had the glove on. Again, very small glove. It's kind of like plastic. It goes over your fingers and everything. And they were controlling a race car on a game on an iPad, essentially.
Yeah, so the game is played on the tablet, and then our clients can actually see the game action going on. Then the one that Steven saw, it is like, you're basically changing the lanes by controlling the car, moving your hand up and down, and then like the car is like on the screen, like it's moving, like from left to right, and then but then again, like you have to like change your lanes, by moving your wrist up and down and avoiding obstacles, and then it's like a typical car game. And so I mean, our goal is like really to make the rehabilitation more engaging, but the power of software lies in data collection. So I think the biggest part is our software is run by artificial intelligence. So our product is more like a Netflix for stroke survivors. And our AI actually knows what kind of games they need to work on, just like Netflix, knows what kind of movies you want to watch or you need to watch. So every time you finish one game, and then like it analyze like based on the data analysis that our software does, and the algorithm actually recommends like different games at different level of the difficulty and with the different goal set.
We're talking with Scott Kim. He has a company based out of San Francisco. They develop different types of technology, not only the hardware, but also the software, the games that go along with it to help people get rehabilitated. Stroke victims, obviously,
Survivors.
stroke survivors can really benefit from this. Scott, tell us about some of the other types of solutions you have or products you have.
Sure. We once our smart glove like picked up popularity, then we branched out to like arm and shoulder, and it's called Smart Board. So basically, it's a board, and then there's a handle, and you move your arm and shoulder, and then you get better. It's basically the same principle. And then like we made the pediatric version of the smart glove. It's called the smart kids. And I mean, like everyone is always like very surprised to hear, like there's a lot of the like stroke survivors. Like there's a lot of like stroke patients like under the age of 15. There are just so many. But then again, obviously, like there's not a lot of devices that they can use. So this was like, like all of our founders are our parents. And then this is a bit of our mission. So we developed the one like for smart kids and for the pediatric population. So basically it's the same as Smart Glove, but it's a smaller. And then, we took out some games like, gambling, and like pouring the wine and things like that because of population. And then we have the Neofect Cognition, which is actually developed for dementia population. So it's for the attention and then memory. And we also have the fine motor, like we also have the device for fine motor skills and cognition capability, and which is called the Smart Pegboard. And then this year we launched the two new products at CES, and one of them is called the Smart Balance, and it's for the like lower body of like lower part of your body. So it's kind of like the Dance Dance Revolution, but it's for stroke rehabilitation. So it's working on your balancing and gait and using the game content. So it's a smart balance. And then this year we're we're really like we have a big belief in telehealth because of all the gaps that we see in our healthcare system in the United States. And we're launching the product called the Neofect Connect, and that really enables the telehealth portion like for stroke survivors.
Scott, you're one of the founders of this company, Scott Kim, we're talking with right now, of Neofect. What made you start Neofect?
Yeah, like the idea itself like came from a friend of mine, and he's a PhD in engineering from University of Southern California in LA. And then I met him through a friend of mine who's actually a group CEO right now. And him and I, we went to University of Virginia together for our MBA program. And it was our first year. And then the idea, came from like his friend. And then this was like, one of probably like 1,000 ideas that he was like chipping in on. And then like, just because like we were in B school, he's an engineer, like he just ran a lot of ideas by us. And this idea really hooked us up like at the same time, because my friend who's our group CEO, he's in Hoyang, and his father died of stroke. And when he was 16. So this was like very emotional issue for him. And then he grew up in poor family. So they didn't really know any means like, like rehabilitation after stroke. So he wanted to make something eligible for, underserved population. So that was one thing. And for me, and like, I also have personal story. I was born with spina bifida, which is a type of disability you're born, when you're born. So it's very limited population, and it's very, very unlikely that you're born with it. But I was. So I went through the major surgery when I was 6, 5, and then I had tertiary rehab afterwards. So I mean, even back then, I was born and raised in South Korea, and which was a completely different country, and like it was really boring. And it was really boring, and I didn't really know what I was doing. But the more surprising thing is, I came to the United States when I was 22, and then fast forward, I was 30 years old, in 2010 at UVA, and just like checking out like these rehab facilities. It's like early 1980s in South Korea, and 2010 in America. Like, I didn't see much difference. Like, this is like almost identical to what I remember from my childhood. So that was really odd to me, and I definitely thought there's a really good chance that we can do something about this, like in terms of the rehabilitation. And my friend was like very emotionally attached to it too, and like, so at least like we wanted to give it a shot. Like, as an MBA student, like we thought that we had nothing to lose, and just there's a lot of criticism and like skepticism, but at least we wanted to be remembered, as somebody who gave it a shot and then failed, instead of just like not brave enough, like not to pursue anything that we really like heavily believed in.
We're talking with Scott Kim. He's one of the founders of Neofect, company based out of San Francisco, involved with health and wellness. Their first big product would be a smart glove that helps gamify stroke survivors' rehabilitation. They've since come out with additional products to help other folks, including people with dementia as well. Scott, where can people find out more information about Neofect?
Yeah, our website will be great resource. It's neofect.com, neofect.com, and it has all the information that people are usually looking for.
Scott, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
YouTube, bought by Google back in the day, I think for $1.5 billion. They have more than made their money back on that. How much do you think they make a year, AJ?
Make a year?
Yeah.
Why no?
Well, yeah, you got the article in front of you now. $15 billion.
$15 billion. Yeah.
$15 billion a year just from YouTube. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
They pay out, however, they didn't break it down, but they pay out for content acquisition, $8.5 billion. So those payouts would be not only going to content makers like creators, but other content that they purchase as well. So it still seems very profitable.
Yeah.
Essentially. I mean, we make money off of it for our GetConnected TV stuff.
Yep.
We're not up in the $1 billion category yet.
Not this week.
But we're working on it.
Yeah.
But it's been an interesting ride just trying to figure out how that all works and the best way to manage that.
Well, a lot of people have tried, and it's funny though, I've seen a lot of stories where people talk about kids. What do they want to be when they grow up? They want to be a YouTube star.
Yes.
Because they know that's how you can make money. And they can be a goof in their bedroom in front of a camera.
But
And
it's
make
tough.
a lot of money.
Yeah, but it's tough.
It
It's
is
not
tough.
always consistent, right? Because they change the algorithms
Yes.
on YouTube a lot of the times on how they calculate advertising revenue that they share with the creators. And a lot of times that kills off a lot of the revenue.
Yeah.
With an overnight change.
Yeah, well, and they've made a number of changes in the past as far as how many subscribers you need to actually make any money to qualify to be in those monetization zones, but also some of the rules around what you can talk about even, and that can actually impact your ability to bubble up in the rankings, in the search results, that kind of thing. We've even encountered a few issues when we've actually had guests on our video podcast and we talk about some topics. We're not specifically talking about bad things. We're talking about bad things that could happen, but
Like if we mentioned terrorist or something like that.
Right. You just got our video banned now.
We will have to bleep that out, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steven, we'll
But
have
it's
Steven do
interesting.
that.
Like it's this constantly moving set of goalposts
Yeah.
that have made these creators that think they deserve more, or at least have a more consistent set of income. So they do other things, like they set up a Patreon account so their true fans can help support them, or they do sponsored / paid content with partners and vendors. So it also, those types of things can change how the content gets created, how authentic it is, and that can dramatically impact their bottom lines at the end of the day as well.
Well, let's look at the number again. It's $15 billion. And that's kind of a record amount for YouTube, for Google. Again, it's the first time they've broken it out in their earnings report. It's 10% of Google's overall $161 billion revenue yearly.
That all?
They're doing okay.
Yeah.
Just to give you a comparison, $15 billion, that's how much YouTube made last year. That's about 20% of how much advertisers pay across all the US network television stations.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
I didn't realize that they spent that much on network TV still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it costs what, $3-5 million for a Super Bowl ad?
It's a bit of money.
Yeah. What's interesting though is Instagram also recently reported guess how much they made last year?
How much?
20 billion.
Oh, is that all?
And they don't pay their creators. So that's
But still,
that's-
Instagram is a huge social platform.
That's pure advertising revenue.
Yeah, for them.
Yeah.
They're sucking it all in.
Yeah.
They're not giving it out.
And that's just the Instagram portion. Facebook's probably even bigger.
I think the takeaway here, though, especially that comparison to network television, is there's no question in corporations' minds that this shift to spending money on these digital platforms is the way of the future. Like when you look at those numbers as a percentage of money spent in television, 20% just from YouTube alone. When you take those aggregate numbers, digital spending is probably going to start to be the primary focus for companies when they're doing their ad budgets.
There's not many other competitors out there that can compete with that sheer scale of how much money they're giving out to their creators. Twitch is another big one. A lot of people probably haven't heard of Twitch. It's like an online gaming streaming platform.
If you have kids that game, you've heard of Twitch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazon bought them. It was funny when Amazon bought them. I'm like, the hell is Amazon buying this game streaming service for? I understand now.
Yeah.
I
And
totally do.
Microsoft has Mixer, which is their competitor.
Mixer?
Mixer.
Yeah, I haven't looked at that one yet.
Yeah.
I
So-
mentioned this in another segment, but my addiction right now is TikTok.
What are you, 14?
I know, right? It's so addictive.
That's old for TikTok, though.
Yeah, I know. I'm telling you, keep your eye on TikTok. It's coming fast.
Yeah.
I think it's here, but
Yeah.
it's that short, quick hit video
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
The attention span theater, basically.
Totally.
So we talked about Twitch. So the 15 billion that YouTube makes, that's 6 times as much as Twitch, which is
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. Twitch also pays quite a lot to their creators too.
Do they?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how that formula works.
You subscribe to someone you like.
Yeah.
And so they get a cut of that subscription money. And then the creators also basically elicit donations during their streams saying, hey, buy me pizza or, buy me dinner or whatever, that kind of thing while they're streaming and while they're playing their video games.
And so I want you to wrap your head around that. You're getting paid from your subscribers so they can watch you play a video game.
Your fans.
But the interesting thing about Twitch and Mixer, though, is you can actually, as a fan, play with your favorite creators because they open the doors. They call it open lobby. So you can come in, you want to play Fortnite with your favorite person on Twitch or Mixer, you can do that, which is a big deal. You can't just walk into a concert and hang out with the Rolling Stones, right? So in that world, in that realm, that's a big deal. And giving them a couple bucks a month is better than paying for cable TV for a lot of people.
It's funny because I think I've told the story to you before. my son, he was 19 at the time. He's still living at home because he's going to university. So his girlfriend was over, and they were in his room, and went in to say hi. And so she's like lying on the bed watching him, and he's watching on this computer screen. He's playing like League of Legends. And I'm like, oh, this must be really exciting for you. And watching your boyfriend play a video game while you're just sitting there. And then he says to me, "Oh, I'm not playing. I'm watching someone play a video game."
We're both watching.
I'm like, oh my God. The times have changed.
Yeah.
I didn't get it at first either, but then when I got a new game, I'm like, I don't know how to play this game. I want to see how to play it. So you watch people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And quite the good creators are really good at describing what's going on.
Yeah.
And you can actually, in some cases, and how I got started in a few games, I actually got to play with them on their stream.
Yeah.
And so I'm chatting with them on headsets. Other, hundreds of other people are watching, and we're playing these games. It's a great way to learn how to play a game.
Okay, we're going to have to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk about a new segment that we have, our favorite tech of the week. And you have to stay tuned for this. Do you remember the Phantom Zone in Superman? This is where they sent criminals. And if you watch Superman 1 with Christopher Reeves, they sent the General Zod and his henchmen to the Phantom Zone. And they basically sent them kind of encased in this kind of, looked like glass.
Yeah.
Well, how true is that now? There's technology that can do that. And we'll tell you what it is. It's that time for our new segment, our favorite tech of the week. And this one harkens back to the original Superman movie with Christopher Reeves. And it's interesting because the demo that they showed, and this was a partnership between Microsoft and Warner Brothers, they actually used the Superman movie, and they put that entire movie on a piece of glass about the size of a coaster, which was interesting.
It's really fascinating what they're doing with this. They're using lasers essentially to encode data into voxels. These are three-dimensional equivalent of pixels that we normally would see on a screen. So this little piece of glass, like you said, it's about the size of a coaster, has all of the data needed to digitally store the entire, I think it's six film reels of the original negative of the Superman movie, which they chose for the obvious analogy, which you expressed earlier.
The Phantom Zone, where they put the criminals. So you can't actually put real humans in here, but you can put their likenesses.
That's right.
The movie.
Yeah. And so what's really interesting about this storage technology is the fact that it's impervious to just about everything.
So unlike like USB keys and CDs, which degrade over time.
Yeah. It's waterproof. It's temperature resistant because it's glass. So it'd have to be really hot for it to even remotely become an issue. Mm-hmm. Some of these old film negatives, they're really sensitive to even the air. And they can actually catch fire. So a lot of the big movies that we've all grown up watching and loving are actually stored in a vault inside a mountain because it's an old salt mine. And that's where they store it because it has this consistent, even temperature. It's earthquake, bomb proof, all the different proofs that you could have. But this little piece of glass from Project Silica is very tiny compared to the amount of space even a couple of film canisters take up. So
exactly.
So imagine being able to store all of your photos, for example, on one piece of glass that is impervious to just about everything. I don't think it's bulletproof, but
they call it Project Silica.
Project Silica, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be a nice piece of glass on my desk that I could sort of like a little.
Yeah. Well, do you remember? Did you see Blade Runner 2049?
Oh yeah.
Right. They have all these records that are stored on glass and little glass balls and things like that. And depending on the time of the history of the movie, I don't want to spoil anything, but electromagnetic pulses took out a big chunk of history because everything was digitally stored and there was no paper records. But these glass things are impervious to even that type of thing.
Crazy.
You just need the special laser system to read these things.
Well, that's all the time we have left. Don't forget to listen to our sister show every Sunday here on the Chorus Radio Network on Global News Radio, CKNW 980. It's from 10 to 11 in the morning here in Vancouver. It goes across the network across Canada as well. We also have our video podcasts available. You can actually see us live doing these shows, GetConnectedMedia.com. Not only this show, but also the app show as well. And Going to give a shout out to the contest one more time. We're giving away a pair of Bear Dynamics over-the-ear headphones. These things are awesome sauce. They're like $1,000 if you had to go out and buy them. Go to getconnectedmedia.com, go to the newsletter tab, subscribe, and you'll be entered to win. I want to thank everyone that puts the show together. John Biehler, AJ Vickery, Stephen, and Christina, Nigel, Paul Gill, and the rest of the team. We'll see you again next time. Hey, you like our podcast? Then you need to subscribe to our channel so that we can keep making more great ones.
Yes. And if you hit the little bell, you'll get notified when we have a new video up for you.
And if you check out the video version, you get to see special lookouts to the audience right at you.
That's creepy. But subscribe anyway.
And leave a comment about AJ.